This is our podcast where we belly flop into the bouncy house of mystery, surrounded by conspiracies and unexplained phenomena, with theories so bizarre they may actually make you say,
"Are they thinking with their butt?" Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Katie.
and I'm Chris.
And this is Stop Thinking with Your Butt. And this is a Katie-sode.
Katie-sode, I like that.
You like that? It's a Katie-sode?
It's cute. It's like,
Katie-sode.
sounds like a little anime though. You don't like anime.
Don't paint me in a corner. I don't.
Like, I want you to have like cat ears and like paw.
And like eyes that are twice the size of my face and a mouth that's super tiny.
Do your laugh again if you can. I know. It gets me all the time. I love it.
I think that anime is really random and nonsensical. And there's a lot of noise.
Now, this is a disclaimer to anyone who actually likes anime like myself. She is not, well, she's a hater, 100%. But that doesn't mean the show hates anime. I love anime, and I still watch it.
I think we are just sitting on opposite sides of the fence when it comes to anime. You are a lover. I'm not necessarily a hate. Well, I'm a raging hate machine. No, I have a low threshold for. I have a low tolerance for it.
Nani?
Oh, disappear.
Okay, sorry.
Now I'm a panda. Oh, now I'm a little girl.
Ranma one half was awesome. Shut up. You shut your face. I don't care if we're married or not. I will fight you.
Oh, no, don't fight me. Oh, this is getting bad. Okay, we're losing people.
It is getting bad.
We're losing people. We might have to edit.
But you know what? Support me.
I do support you.
No, I'm talking to the third wall. Oh, wait, I can't speak to them.
Don't address.
I'm not addressing.
Don't address. Okay.
I won't undress.
Close that. I'm sorry. Okay, so with that aside, okay, I'm gonna cite some sources before I get into my topic today. So my topic today is unsolved, or it's my sources are Unsolved Mysteries, Unsolved.com, Smithsonian National Geographics, Science, People, CBS News, Hampshire Live, Toads and Frogs, and more. We'll get into the toads and frogs in just a minute.
That was a lot of stuff that I did not listen to at all. But I'm glad we're here.
Glad you're here. Thanks for being here. And this episode, I'm going to put a trigger warning right at the front because there's a lot of animal death. And you know how I feel about animals. All animals. But most of the animal death can be explained by natural acts or acts of nature. Most.
So... still stay tuned.
Yes.
Don't leave.
So this isn't people hurting animals. This isn't bloodbath. It's just things that happen in nature that can be explained.
Do you feel like you have to trigger warn people before
animals? Absolutely.
What about for children?
Yes, absolutely. You don't. Okay. Very few rules. No children. No animals.
And if that is involved, we have to submit a trigger warning. Okay.
That, and if there's any like physical, like,
but I guess
rape.
What are you expecting? Like when we say trigger warning, like
people who can't handle it,
should they turn off or just mute at certain times?
Should fast forward to.
Oh, got it. So we'll say it right before and
yeah. So
okay.
like trigger warning. Trigger warning if you're sensitive to animal death
or certain things that you think may trigger something.
Things,
okay.
This episode may not be for you. I'm just saying.
I'm surprised you did not use trigger warning for the anime bashing that you did prior to this.
I might go back.
That was horrible, by the way. I was offended. I was shocked, in fact. Okay.
Remain as such.
Okay, let's continue.
Okay,
now that I know there's triggers. Got it.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of triggers. Well, this whole episode's a trigger. I'm just putting it out there. Would you say, knowing me for as long as you've known me, and for us being together as long as we've been together, would you say that I'm a pluviophile?
A pluviophile?
Pluviophile.
Am I supposed to know what that is?
If I were to say to you that I was a lover of rain.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
100%.
100%. That's why you live in Portland.
Yeah.
Most people get depressed and suicidal over here. You love it.
I All of it. Rain to me is sunshine for others. I love the rain.
But
And I was just like, choo choo.
yes. See, no one cares about guys' feelings, but my wife was happy. So I'm like, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's do this. So I am a lover of rain. I love, love, love the rain. It really helps with my social anxiety because I don't have to do it. I'm allowed to be an introvert. I love the rain. It's got my back. With that being said, we've had a lot of rain lately, have we not? A lot of rain, which is great because we had a really dry summer last year. I'm going to talk to you about weird rain.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to start off weird, and then we're going to go weirder.
Does it all have like different names? Like I know like the Eskimo has 100 names for snow.
No, we're going to keep it very basic.
Okay.
So this is actually, so it's going to go weird in terms of like, like that's weird, but it can be explained. And then we're going to go weirder where it's like, well, yeah, that's really weird. And it can be explained.
So it's like, it's weird, but not weird.
Yeah. Well, then it's going to be explained like, do you believe what the explanation is?
No more trailer needed. I'm hooked.
Are you
Let's
hooked?
go.
Okay. And then we're going to get into the unexplained.
Okay. I know. I'm excited to hear all the different types of rain.
So we're going to do animal rain.
Animal rain.
Animal rain. So the most common rain, apart from your normal precipitation, is fish. Raining fish.
Like fish actually fall
Fish
from the sky.
Falling from the sky. Closest natural source of water, 45 miles away. Fish raining from the sky.
Oh, like tornadoes. and so
So,
on.
well,
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me not throw my ignorance in.
I just get one word in advice.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm listening.
Okay. So in Yarrow, Honduras, it rains fish 4 times a year, up to 4 times a year.
Honduras, okay.
Yeah. Inhabitants of Yarrow celebrate the annual Festival de la Lluvia de Pisces to commemorate the small silvery fish that rain up to 4 times a year.
That's cool.
They rain on random days during the months of May and June, and so the festival can be held at random within that time frame. They can kind of predict when a storm might be coming, and then they'll kind of try to plan a festival around them.
That's cool.
So the closest source of water to Yarrow is hop, skip, and 45 miles away from the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
In 2017, in Oroville, California. Now, California, just in general, is like
No rain.
No rain. So 2017, this is not that long ago, it rained fish over an elementary school. And the reports first stated that on the Tuesday evening that the storm had passed over Stanford Avenue Elementary in Oroville, that the school was decimated and covered in fish, and the school staff thought it was a prank. And so they were in the midst of cleaning up, and during recess the following day, the storm cloud burst again, and it started raining fish, and all the students and staff were pelted with fish.
What size fish do you think? Like tiny?
So
like
some of the
a
pictures,
couple inches?
So the pictures of different fish I've seen, they're ranged from like teeny tiny fish to like grouper, like
Wow.
big fish. So, and I'll kind of explain in a little bit. And then, but in 2021, just last year, in Texarkana, Texas, during a brief shower on a Wednesday, December 29th, multiple Texarkana residents reported seeing dozens of fish falling from the sky.
Just so you know, Texarkana, Texas sounds like a name that would be found in Texas.
Well, because it has the name of the state. Kansas City. Sounds like a state. Sounds like a city you'd find in Kansas.
It's not. It's actually Missouri. Kansas City, Missouri.
It is.
You're welcome.
You son of a bitch.
Sorry, continue.
You and your geography, you nerd. Nerd.
I'm just saying, I like the name of that Texas town. It really spoke to me.
Oh, now I'm dumb. Okay.
I'll keep going.
Right. Okay.
I like it.
All right. So that's the most recent report of fish rain was 2021. But we've had like in Singapore in the 1800s, Rhode Island, 1900, Louisiana, India a few times have had reports.
Okay.
Australia, the Philippines. So all over through the last 100 years, reports raining fish.
Okay.
After fish, the next most common.
I'm going to say frogs.
Frogs and toads. So we have like the earliest account in the 1st century AD, and the most recent of it raining frogs is in 2010 in Hungary. But there's a small possibility that it rained toads in India in 2016. But the only report I could find, I couldn't translate. So it's just me trying to interpret what an Indian news reporter is saying.
Oh, you like watched a video of it?
Yeah, there wasn't closed captioning options.
Well, you know what? I love your journalistic.
I tried to deep dive and I got stuck.
We'll allow this.
So we're just going to say they talked about it raining toads, but then it just showed a wet field with it covered in toads. And so,
Did you at least see toads in the video?
Yeah, there was toads in the video.
Okay, then we're good.
There was rain, there was toads, but it could have been the flood. The field got flooded, and then there was toads everywhere.
They're good.
Okay,
I will believe it.
So, usually, now, unfortunately, a lot of these animal rains result in the product of dead animals. Unfortunately, they don't usually survive the impact from sky to ground. In many cases, the ground for miles will be covered in dead fish, dead frogs. And a lot of times they're frozen.
Frozen, okay.
Yeah, so there's reports of it being frozen, which I'll get more into later. We have in Kansas City, Iowa, London, Calgary, Canada, Sutton Park, Croydon, which I'm not quite sure where that is, but we have, like, according to onlookers, there's frog rain on 2 separate occasions with a span of 2 weeks. They fell from the sky in hundreds and were described as tiny rose-colored amphibians. Early morning showers were accompanied by hundreds of frogs. Unfortunately, the frogs were already deceased. Most recent, official record we have is in Serbia, where these frogs were actually live still. The reports were that the residents of this town in Serbia came out to thousands of tiny frogs hopping across the roadways. Then we also have a frog rain in Japan and Hungary also.
Don't keep us in suspense.
Well, I'll get there because we still have more unusual animal rain. And then they all have a common thread. So the next is worms.
Worms, okay.
Raining worms. In the city of Jennings, Louisiana in 2007, worms were the subject of much conversation. But why? Because the place was rained on at random by a ton of worms. Clumps of tangled worms fell out of the sky, coating the streets, trees, and pelting random, horrified onlookers. And rainworm again in 2011. Galashiels, South Edinburgh, had to cancel their PE after worms began raining on the pitch. Okay, and then again in 2015 in Norway, thousands of earthworms had covered the snow after they fell from the sky. Those are our worms. We have 2007, 11, and 15. Then we have a frozen squid. In June of 1997, a man was having a nice fishing outing in the Falkland Islands when a strange and confusing tragedy struck. Without warning, a frozen squid fell out of the sky right onto his head and knocked him unconscious.
Oh my God. I was going to say, if you're on an island and all the places for the thing to fall, that one squid, right? It wasn't a bunch of squids.
It was just a single. This report is just a single solitary frozen squid falls from the sky.
Extremely lucky or unlucky?
Unlucky. Falls from the sky. He was comatose for 2 days following the squid assault. Probably had a lot of unanswered questions when he woke once again. So that's a frozen squid.
That's traumatizing. I wonder if he had any idea what happened.
Well, how do you know? It's like, what if he got hit? What if one of his buddies accidentally hit him with an oar? And was like, did you see that squid?
Or the squid, it hit him and then it bounced in the water, never to be found.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great, oh my gosh, that's a great alibi.
That's such a good alibi.
I was sitting on the boat and a frozen squid.
The squid defense, that's what you're going with?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, I swear.
I'm going to put this submission, the squid I found.
No, I couldn't find it. It fell back in the water. Man,
okay.
Perfect murder weapon. Sorry, keep going.
That is the perfect
I know. It's a squid alibi. Oh man.
Gosh. Okay. Then we have
so many uses.
Squid alibi of 2022. In South Carolina, 1877, a farm owner, J.L. Smith, was trying to prepare his land for a storm when out of the sky came a bunch of foot-long baby alligators falling onto his land.
Okay.
They hit the ground unharmed and began to crawl away or crawl around.
So
heck yeah,
you love animals. Would you keep a crocodile if it landed in our yard? I would probably say yeah.
If it needed, oh, frick, heck yeah,
Yeah.
I'd keep it. I'd put
At
hats
least
on
one. We would have to get at least
I'd
one.
knit it sweaters.
Until it, like, maybe was it as interesting anymore, but we definitely would try it, I bet.
I don't know. I've kind of become more like aware that wild animals belong in the wild and not in my bathtub.
You would totally take it, though.
If it was injured, I just have to give myself a solid excuse to keep it.
By solid excuse, you mean,
Maybe-
it fell in my yard.
Maybe.
I might as well pick it up because that would be littering.
Or be like, babe, the other alligators don't like him.
So I would not
I
necessarily a
got
solid
him.
excuse, just any excuse.
Any excuse?
Okay, awesome.
Loose, solid excuses. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to have alligators. It's different.
Raining alligators. And then the last common account is in 1894, it rained jellyfish in Bath, England.
That's not exciting.
That's not exciting at all. Actually, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about colored rain.
Colored rain. Okay.
And then I'll tell you how all this happens. There's been a few times, I won't go into specifics because I didn't write them all down, but there was a time in England where it rained black rain and it stained all the sheep. And there's been a time it rained. People thought it was raining blood because the rain was red, and just various different colors.
And people are stupid.
Yeah, they're thinking with their butts. So how does animal rain happen and how does color rain happen?
Yeah, tell me.
So it involves, and it all sounds like super mysterious until it's explained. Then you're kind of like, oh, well, that makes sense. So it involves whirlwinds and low weight creatures.
Yep.
So it's safe to assume that most people know what a tornado is or have seen a dust storm.
Called it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So like when you're out in a field and you see like a little dust storm and it picks up like trash, like a bag. It doesn't really cause much damage, but it's there. You can see it. So when this happens over the water, it's called a water spout.
Yeah.
A water spout is a small tornado that forms over a body of water. These usually happen in prelude to a severe storm due to the high pressure levels in the atmosphere. And the high pressure areas are usually areas where there's thicker atmosphere. When I think of thick atmosphere, I think of places like Georgia,
Yeah.
Florida, Louisiana,
Yeah, Florida.
like where it's hot, like you could feel the weight of the atmosphere.
Yes.
So places like that, when there's a storm, these little water spouts usually come in prelude to that. And as with land-based tornadoes, the center of the water spout is low pressure, so the within a high pressure cone. So the outside is sucking things in, and once they hit the center, they kind of like free fall a little bit, just to be caught by the outside and thrown back in. So it's like a game of constant catch with this within the tornado, and that's how things travel.
Yeah.
They're not getting thrown out; they're just keep getting tossed
constantly
around.
in,
Yeah. Which, when I thought about it that way, I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like they're just constantly being thrown back into the center of low pressure tunnel. So this is why it picks up relatively low weight items. So land based, it would be like cows, trailer homes, cars, things like that. But since it's over water, you want what?
No, I was just thinking of you went straight to like cows and farms, and we were talking about lightweight stuff, and then you started talking about cows, and I'm like, I wasn't with you, but now I'm with you.
Well,
And
so
but I get the concept, right?
Comparatively,
Yeah, when you're talking about the land and the water.
Comparatively lightweight is the livestock.
Yeah, I get it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when it's over water, the lightweight would be like amphibians and things that are surface level water, which I can attest to because remember when I was working or volunteering at the zoo and we were doing that conservation thing and I had to go into the swamp in my waders to look for frog eggs.
Yeah, you did not like that at all.
It was like
You are not, just so you know, her heart is big in animals and so on, but she does not want to be in the woods or in the water.
I am not a muddy boots person.
Or a nature person. You like camping.
I
the
like
thought
nature.
Of nature.
I love camping. I love being out in nature. I don't like bugs. I don't like bugs.
So you had to be. You were like
So I was waders up to my chest, trudging through this swamp to look at. We were trying to identify frog eggs.
Yeah,
or this specific toad, and try to get a count so we can see how they were doing in comparison to years previous. Frog eggs, it just looks like a silicone boob full of peas or specks. That's really what it is. But they float on the surface.
Yeah. So
they're all surface level. So I can see how, like, if a water spout were to go over a place like that, and they all congregate in certain locations. So you'll see a ton together, and in other areas there's none. And then as the water spout, so once it's over the water and it moves over the land, it starts to lose its energy. It starts to lose pressure. And when it's losing pressure, it starts to drop the heaviest items first. So if the water spout were to pick up everything up into the atmosphere and it starts to lose energy, it's going to drop its heaviest load first. Oh.
Yeah, like
you just looked at me with X-rated eyes.
No, I was thinking of like boy eyes, like poop.
No.
Hey, we're not going to go there. We're
Please
adults.
don't. Ah! So anyway, so in the case of animal rain, once it's headed over land, if it loses its pressure, it'll drop the animals first, not poop. That kind of explains why that happens. So it's like they'll be sucked up, and then the water spout might not lose pressure for 45 miles. It might continue on land. So you'll see it's usually, I think the average is, I wrote it down, between 30 and 50 miles is like the furthest it's traveled, a water spout from a water source. But you know, anything's possible. It could technically go further than that. Usually, and then why the frozen? So higher up in the atmosphere, the colder it gets. So the power of the water spout determines how high these amphibian will go.
Yeah.
The higher up, and then it's cold, they freeze, they drop. Animal rain.
Yeah.
Does that all make sense?
Well, I feel like the eggs, how long do frogs hatch? Do you know? Because I'm trying to think, if the eggs get up there, are they up there for so long because they're so light?
It's usually not long.
That they bounce around and hatch and they fall down with toads? Does that make sense?
Well, they wouldn't stay up there that long. I can see them maybe going from tadpole to the next stage of gestation, but they would fall probably before that. I would assume so, because they're too heavy.
Yeah, because it says it typically takes 16 weeks.
No, they're not. It at the most, I would think like minutes.
Oh, okay.
Hours,
yeah,
maybe.
So anything egg related
the
is
length
not
of the length
hang
of the
out there
storm.
for so long.
No, the length of the
like
storm. Once the storm system becomes too weak, it won't carry anything.
Okay.
And it'll even rain. That's the final stage of the storm. Is once the rain is dropped, it's done. It's put its limit out there.
Well, thank you for clarifying that, because I was having a cool vision of these eggs,
Floating into,
not only floating, but like spending their life up in the air,
thinking they're gods.
Looking down on the world below, not knowing one day they will join us.
And then watching the ground like violently crash towards them.
You're born. Get out.
Get out of here.
Too heavy. And then like, that's their life cycles. They just grow and then they go straight down.
The thing that is kind of like, is why whenever these phenomenon happen, it's always one species of animal. It's always just silverfish or just frogs. But there's multiple species living in the same ecosystem.
Yeah, well, so what I would say is most of those fish, or species, if I had to guess, are species that travel around in schools.
That's right. That's what they're thinking about, like worms. It's like they're all in colonies together.
Yeah, so you don't have like a one-off or whichever. So it's very common. If one goes, they all go. Right. So
yeah, and then they're all of similar size and weight. But one of the theories that people have is that, well, if they're in an environment with, or an ecosystem with other creatures that are similar size and weight, because you've seen different types of fish side by side. They can weigh probably the same. Yeah. But you would never find them in the same type of animal rain together. So it's like, it's interesting, like you would see two frogs and toads exactly the same size and weight living in the same environment, but you won't ever see them drop together. It's always one of a species. So that was like, some people are like, Is there like a big conspiracy about that? A little bit.
Well,
no, I won't talk. So that's just a theory that some people have, is that It could be alien related.
So like they pick them up in their spaceship and then
Study them and then
they
drop
study
them.
them and then they're just like eject.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. And so with the color rain, it's kind of a similar concept, except after a fire, a land-based tunnel could pick up soot and then it'll rain, or a brick quarry. So any place that has a strong color of object, if it were to get sucked up, I think the red rain was actually brick. It was like a brick mine or brick. So
during the tornado process as well, not just like it gets absorbed naturally through precipitation.
No,
or
it's
anything
like
that.
sucked up into the tunnel system.
Oh, okay.
And then it precipitates the mineral down, looking like something else.
Got it.
And it's happened with, there's been white milky rain, black rain, red rain. And I saw somewhere green rain. I think that was algae related.
Can you just imagine back in the day, let's say, 1500s earlier, if there was a battlefield in medieval times or just in times where like there was about a war and they're all like, gods, give us a sign. It just started raining. Blood rain.
I wish I was a meteorologist back then. I'd be like, oh, guys, it's going to be good. We got to plan our battle.
But the worst thing, though, is which side would think that it benefits them?
They're probably both thinking, God, give us a sign. And then they're like, yeah.
I know. And then they all go into it and it would just be a massacre. So it's awesome. I'm sorry, just think about that.
Yeah.
That's how I think. Like,
okay, so this
a lot
one,
of people yelling and like beating their chest and so on.
this one by far. So that was all tornado related. That was all weather explained. I think it poses some questions like about the similar, like why only one type? Why not other animals of same sizes and weight falling together? So that was just kind of interesting, but that could all be explained. That's all explainable for the most part. Now we move on to another phenomena of weather, raining spiders.
Okay.
This is my least favorite of anything in the world.
Spiders are never a good thing.
I would rather anything. Insert anything. So on April 6, 2007, a rain of spiders was captured in photos by an Argentine photographer.
Argentina again.
He was climbing San Bernardino Peak in Argentina's Salta province with friends when they noticed the ground covered with spiders. Looking up, they noticed the spiders falling from the sky. Snapped a few pictures to prove his point, and then probably ran off screaming like a little girl.
That's offensive.
That's what it said. I'm just quoting. In Brazil, 2013, literally thousands of small and large spiders fell from the sky and began weaving webs, almost instantly coating the land like a creepy crawly blanket. So, and then it's happened in Australia.
Of course.
It's happened in the
Why
United
would it not
States.
happen in Australia?
One of the reports I read said it happened in Australia, covering 70 kilometers.
You could probably have a whole series just of all the crazy stuff that happens in Australia.
Australia by itself is its own show.
I don't know if I ever want to visit it right now, only because of all the crazy things that I keep seeing and hearing. And of course it happens in Australia. Why wouldn't it?
Let's just say that
nature-wise, nature's extreme.
Social media is not doing Australia any favors.
No, absolutely not.
I'll even see people be like, Australia's really not that bad. And then they'll be like, a giant
spider
death wasp.
Kangaroos are cute. Oh, until they like the size of a boxer.
Grab your dog and start punching it.
So far, no.
Yeah. So what's actually happening when it's raining spiders is that spiders are climbing to higher ground in anticipation of bad weather. So it's like, how they say that animals can sense rain,
vibrations or
whatever. So they can sense that there's something approaching or comingeth.
Yeah, their joints swell.
Yeah. They get aches in their back. So they climb to higher surface and they throw strings.
Morons.
They throw strings of
strings in the air.
They throw strings of web into the air. They call it ballooning, and they just kind of ride the wind.
I know you're asking to get taken away, or do they want to get taken
away?
They
want to get taken away.
They're trying.
Sense. So what?
They're doing the opposite of what I would want you to do to get safe.
If you think about it, when it comes to like a storm system, there's usually a breeze that comes with it, preceding it. because it's coming across.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get ahead of the bad weather. So they throw their webs up
That's
to
smart.
ride the air currents out.
I am going to use that in a D&D campaign. Because that sounds awesome.
It's kind of cool,
Oh, man,
right?
yeah, I got to expand on
Can
that.
you imagine that by the millions, though?
Oh my God. Yes, I can. And
It's
I will.
terrifying.
Done. Yeah.
Can you? So I think
Noted.
like like the end of Charlotte's Web, where she's like, "Goodbye."
Mhm.
All these spiders are like, "Bye, motherfucker."
It will not be pretty.
It's yeah. So that's by far the most terrifying. So the ballooning of spiders leading to spider rain. Okay, so this is a phenomena that people have mixed theories about.
Okay.
Raining birds. When
Raining
birds
birds.
fall from the sky by the droves,
How much is a drove?
thousands.
Oh, okay. Whoa.
So in Louisiana and Arkansas, this isn't that long ago. You might even remember it in 2011 on New Year's Day. There was a report of more than 3,000 blackbirds that had fallen from the skies. And on examinations, it showed that the birds had suffered internal injuries, which had formed blood clots. And then 3 days later, 300 miles south, 500 starlings over a quarter mile wide fell dead. So in that case, it was power lines. So they were saying that the 3,000 birds, because I thought that they correlated, so I wrote them both down, but there was no correlation. So
Well, I've seen those videos where they're all hanging on the power cables and they're just like
Zoop.
drooping it down, and yeah, dangerous.
So the 3,000 birds that died on New Year's Eve. So the report is the what you should go with theory is that birds don't typically fly at night, and they were startled by fireworks. And so they took to the air, became disoriented,
Uh-huh.
and they started crashing into
Each
things, themselves, inanimate objects, and died.
You know, I never thought about, birds have good vision at night?
Do they?
Apparently not.
No, that's why there's night birds. Night out, like owls.
Yeah, but like your average bird.
I don't know. We should go throw. We can go throw something at Pickles, our bird.
Well, I mean, I
night,
guess it makes
see?
sense. I just haven't thought of it like that, but I guess it's true. I don't really see a lot of birds flying around at
Birds
night.
don't fly at night.
Interesting.
So the disorientation led them to collide with cars, trees, buildings, and other stationary objects. Over the past 30 years, there have been 16 incidences of mass death of 1,000 birds or more at the same time. And it's usually a tightly packed flock, and it's usually related to bad weather.
Well, and just so you know, I want to do a follow-up on can the birds see at night?
Oh,
The normal bird, they can't see at night because their eyes are not large enough to give adequate night vision. That's why nocturnal birds or owls or things
Have
like
big
that
eyes.
have big eyes.
oh.
Mind blown.
Blown. Look at you learning. We're learning. I'm learning. You're learning.
Nope, I am teaching.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Nice.
So then there's also been incidences. So this kind of ties. So this is going to tie in the tornadoes and animal rain. Sometimes birds will get caught up in a cyclone and taken it to higher elevation where they will freeze and die. It's happened to geese.
Squids.
And squid. They aren't land based and they weren't flying to begin with.
I still think it's funny there's only one squid.
One squid. There might have been more, but if he was on a boat, who's to say?
There's a murderer. That's
on a
all
boat.
there is.
Yeah. So raining birds has people like across the board skeptical. Like,
How does that happen?
how does that really happen? Is it really, they think like government conspiracy. They're thinking like testing sites. They're thinking chemtrails are poisoning the atmosphere.
I'm thinking the different vibrations in the different dimensions.
That's a theory. And then there's one scientist. I didn't write down his information. I just remembered what he was saying. But he's like, I wish people put as much energy into real problems.
Not why they're
He's
birds
like
on the
this.
ground.
He's like, this happens in nature all the time. All the time. He's like, it's not a problem. Calm down. Put your energy.
That's exactly
somewhere
what
else.
they would want you
Right?
to say. I want to know where who's feeding
Who's
him.
this guy? Yeah, who pays his rent? Okay, so now we're getting to the unexplained,
Okay.
and this is unexplained because they say it's unexplained. And this was my inspiration for the episode, but I didn't think I have enough content, so I added more. The Oakville Blobs of 1994. Population 723. On August 7th, 1994, in Oakville, Washington, around 3 o'clock in the morning, it started to rain. Officer David Lacey was out on patrol with a civilian friend of his, and upon encountering the rain, they did what anybody would do. They turned on the wipers. But
for a second, I thought you were going to say they took out their gun and shot it.
They shot the rain.
Like something crazy.
They shot the rain.
Like anyone would do, they would take out their gun and shoot the rain. Sorry. Sorry.
I can see it happening. It's not okay. So they shot the rain. I'll take a shot of the rain. So they turned on their wipers, but the wipers didn't clear the windshield. It actually, it obscured their vision.
Okay.
So when they put the wipers on, the windshield became obscured. They couldn't see out of it anymore.
Okay.
So they're like, what the heck? And they pulled over into a nearby gas station so that they could manually wipe the windshield off. But the officer noticed that there was something not quite right about the rain. So he put on some rubber gloves as precaution, and he wiped the windshield, and it came out as jelly.
Yeah.
Thick like jelly. He
Gelatinous.
said very mushy, almost like a handful of Jell-O.
Mayo. Ugh. Okay.
So it was explained as raining torrents of gelatinous goo over 20 square miles. So after the rain
that
had...
just sounds messy.
Isn't right? I'm thinking of like a diaper that has like the jelly on the inside and just like explodes over 20 miles. So after the rain had passed, resident Dottie Hearn stepped outside and observed what she first thought was hailstones on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So she picked up a handful and noticed that it was actually not hail, but a gelatinous substance.
Ectoplasm.
So later that same day, Officer Lacey and Dottie, along with a lot of other residents who had come in contact, became violently ill. Dottie was found sprawled out on her bathroom floor, barely conscious, cold, drenched in sweat, and pale.
Could be chemical.
Her daughter rushed her to the hospital, where she spent 3 days recovering, and they were finally diagnosed. She finally was diagnosed with an inner ear infection.
I don't see how those are related.
I don't see the correlation. Yeah. So those who fell ill described their symptoms as having difficulty breathing, extreme vertigo, blurred vision, and an increasing sense of nausea. Another resident described the town as having contracted a flu-like illness that lasted 2 to 3 months. Additionally, the cats and dogs who came in contact with the substance all fell ill and died.
Yes. So did they analyze it?
So Dottie's daughter suspected that the unusual rain had something to do with her sudden and severe illness. So she collected a sample and took it to the hospital with her when she took her mom. A technician at the lab examined it and determined it contained human white blood cells, but couldn't identify exactly what it was.
And this is in a city of like 730 some people.
723.
So it's not like they have a huge medical facility.
It's not
or something.
huge, yeah. So the sample was then sent to the Washington State Department of Health for further study, and a microbiologist by the name of Mike McDowell noted that the sample was teeming with 2 species of bacteria, one of which lives in the human digestive system.
Okay.
It was initially speculated that an airplane had dumped its septic system over the town.
Okay. Did they only look at it at night?
No, this is during the day.
Did they recognize the color of it?
Well, so here's the thing. So air regulations require, there's a Federal Aviation Administration that requires all aircraft to have blue dye in their septic tanks. That's why it's blue. And it forbids pilots from releasing they call it blue ice in mid-flight.
Uh-huh.
So it
dropping the load.
Dropping their load. So, but it kind of goes to the point, like, if there's someone committing a crime, they're not going to stop. Like, they'll do whatever they want. So if they're not putting blue dye in their tank, they probably would drop it in midair, you know? So it's like, it's still maybe...
You thinking this is criminal? Like the big mastermind of...
No, not a mastermind criminal. Just like some douchebag flying around.
This town's 700 people. They didn't even know that town exists. It's not even on the map.
No, like just drive it, just flying around, not like all willy-nilly, not knowing where they're going. And then they just are like, oh, I need to empty my septic tank.
I would have positive intent. I think they were trying to do the right thing. But yeah, they just pooped on everyone.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay.
Imagine that officer after squeezing it and was like,
oh, gross.
This is gelatinous.
Stop. Sir, please stop touching that.
You touch your wife with that hand? Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay. But so the problem with this is that it rained like this 6 different times in a 3-week span.
So that throws that theory out.
So
Unless actually, if they're over a certain path, because
and they keep traveling the path.
Yeah, because if it's been designated from the, let's say, the FAA or whichever, and said, "Yep, this is where all the pilots on this route drop it," and it was an error, and they didn't correct it for like a couple weeks or whatever. Yeah, they would be consistently being dropped poo on. It would be a designated poo dropper. Your town is so crappy. We've designated it as an official. Just
sprinkle on a
drop zone.
Yeah. But it was never determined that was thank you. It was never determined what the other substance was. So a year after the mysterious rain and the illness that occurred at Oakville, Dottie mailed the last sample that she had. She had it stored in a freezer. She sent it to AM Test Laboratories, which is a private research lab. And there, a microbiologist named Tim Davis, believes that he saw a eukaryotic. I gotta look it up. Hold on.
Eukaryotic. Okay.
He believes that he saw a eukaryotic cell complex nucleus containing cells that are present in most living things. So what this actually means is that the gel that had rained either was alive or had been alive.
So he ruled out poop.
So it was ruled out not poop.
Huh.
Well, I mean, poop could be alive. There's enzymes and things in poop, but it wasn't ever determined to be poop. And I feel like they would have been able to determine that's poop.
I feel like that would have been bigger news.
Another theory came across the thinking board, claiming that a military naval bombing run at sea had accidentally destroyed a school of jellyfish and sent their pieces flying into the atmosphere, where they managed to fall down upon the residents of Oakville. 50 miles away.
Well, it's within the radius. If
that's weather. No, that was all weather related.
Well, it could have been bombed and weathered. The right conditions.
Maybe they dropped a bomb into a tornado, into a water spout.
What they want us to believe. I'm not believing this.
Don't fall for it. Okay, so a couple of things. The distance that the particles would have had to travel is bananas. And the consistency and size of each piece. So each piece that they found was similar in size. So it's all, they just were described as like grains of sand. They're like pieces of hail, like very tiny.
Oh,
but all the same size. So it wasn't like a jellyfish brain and a tentacle.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like it had been blown apart. It was like consistent, uniform size.
I'm wondering, you've seen those things for like kid toys or whichever, like little beads
those
that
orbs.
absorb, that absorb water. I'm wondering if the military or the government or whoever was creating new technologies or testing it, because if you're saying that it's all kind of like that, is that what you're saying? Like it's all consistently the same size?
Same size.
Maybe it was new technology that, a plane blew up or some other random thing happened. And they're like, no, that's not this new technologies we're examining. It's poop. Or something.
So the Air Force confirmed that they were doing practice bombings over the Pacific Ocean in August that year, but they denied the presence of any substance involved in spreading over the town of Oakville. So they denied anything that they found, the elements that they found in the substances, the gelatinous goo, had nothing to do with what they were doing.
Of course they would deny it.
Deny. Oakville residents remain skeptical as to what really happened, but many report that there was a significant presence of low-moving military aircraft in the area during this time. So some believe...
Did anyone get sick afterwards?
No, it was just during that 2 to 3 months.
Okay, so it's not like a lingering effect or anything.
No, it's all gone now. So some believe Oakville was the site of a military experiment designed to test a new biological weapon, or to test the possible damage of a biological attack on U.S. soil.
I can see that. They do stuff like that all the time, I feel like. Yeah. And when they do those tests, they don't get your consensus for it.
Oh, they don't?
No, of course not.
What if you died?
Did anyone die?
No. Cats and dogs?
You ever hear the test of the CIA were about they putting like LSD in an apartment's water to see the reactions of the people in the apartment?
What? Tell me all
Different time.
Do an episode.
No, I'm telling you that they do experiments like that without your consensus.
That's not right.
We never said it was.
Huh.
That's what I'm saying. I there is historical things with that where they would, even if you look at they do witting suspects, like they not force, but they had volunteers to an extent, like the military, right? Hey, let's see what this nuclear bomb does. Just stand in front of it, right? And watch it, right? Hey, what is the impact of LSD on soldiers' ability to perform? Because they're afraid that people are going to use it as a chemical weapon. Of warfare, and it would make all their soldiers not combat ready.
So is it like, let's understand this threat before it's used against us?
Yeah, or other things, but they do that to volunteers, but they also do it to non-volunteers.
Non-voluntary. Interesting.
And of course, they would always deny it.
Deny. So no samples of the substance exist today. Today, it's impossible to say what the goo was or where it came from because all the evidence has disappeared. The Washington Department of Health says they can find no record of what happened to the samples it had received.
How odd that the most unique thing that happened in that whole town's whatever just miraculously went away.
Under the rug. What are you talking about? We don't have any record of that. What are you talking about? It's all hearsay. So, I don't know. What do you think? That's it.
So I think that the animal rain does happen, and I can see. I don't think people nowadays should be afraid. Not afraid is not the right word, right? But it's not like, what's that? Right?
They should understand that there's an explanation for it.
Yeah, there's an actual phenomenon that happens, and I think science you can
back it up.
You can back it up. So I'm not, the color rain's kind of interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think people may get in a panic for that because they don't know if it's like poison, if it's a chemical, or if it's something, hazardous more than just like the color of it, right? It's not like we're looking at it as omens or anything.
I'm going to put a recommendation out there. If you haven't seen the movie Take Shelter, that's a great movie. What's the reference for this one? For he has a dream that it's raining like oil and it's making people crazy.
Huh.
And then it happens. Spoiler alert. Damn it.
Jeez. Wow.
It's a great movie. It really is a great movie. It's a little slow.
So I'm assuming because you just said spoiler alert, but you only said like less than 2 sentences on it. Yeah. It happened, but it happens at the very, very end.
Maybe.
So I
don't want to give it away.
There's a lot of inference that I can go from there. What you just stated.
It's
so
a great movie.
So there's a lot of suspense, and then it happens. Okay, nice. I guess we got to watch it now because that's funny. No trigger alert for that.
You've seen it before. You probably just don't remember.
I'm sure I have.
Yeah. But so yeah. So thanks for listening, everybody.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah. So today's takeaway is enjoy the rain, but don't be too proud to use an umbrella.
And don't open your mouth.
Don't. Yeah.
Just let it all fall in. Just hold off.
And still, don't forget to tip your Uber driver.
Yeah, don't forget to tip that Uber driver.
If you're still hanging around, you're in for a treat. We got a single sultry minute with Chris's beer review.
Why, hello, beautiful people. Today's beer review is going to be New Belgium's Voodoo Ranger Juicy Hazy IPA. It's packed with a bright tropical aroma and brilliant citrus flavors. This hazy IPA wraps with a pleasantly smooth finish. So, let's take a sip. Perfect. It's nice. It's mild, citrusy, and it makes me want more.